once. Olekina had 2 motions, and he insisted that those 2 motions must be in the order paper. And everybody agreed to it, that he should have his 2 motions. Now, Senator Wamatangi also had an amendment to Sakaja's motion. Mr. Speaker, that amendment to that motion has not been withdrawn. If any other member has withdrawn a motion, that is his problem. Senator Petronila Were, I looked at, no. You're not going to stop me.
Order, members.
No,
Senator Murkomen. Order, members.
You're not going to stop me.
Order.
No,
Senator Murkomen. Order, members. Order, members. Honorable senators. Honorable senators, let me tell you, I sit here as your speaker. And some of you who are now very anxious have also been talking so much and have given you latitude. Let us respect each other. The whole world is watching. Let's give everybody an opportunity to say what they want to say. Order. Conclude.
And you know, Mr. Speaker, normally when a lot of people speak, I don't intervene, even on points of order. And I have a lot of respect for Senator Murkomen. In fact, when he speaks, I keep really quiet. And he was here speaking a lot this afternoon. I would not even mention, I would not even utter like he's uttering. I keep completely quiet because I don't want to be misunderstood. So Mr. Speaker, I urge you, and the respect is mutual. We need to have a sober debate. Another 100 years, people are going to sit down and see how we handle this issue, how we handle it. It's not just for now, it's going to be for the future. So I urge you, Senator Wamatangi's motion preceded mine. Senator Petronila came after mine. So let's have Senator Wamatangi move his motion on amendment. Then I can move mine, and Petronila Were can move hers. That's the order. Thank you, Madam.
Senator Wetangula, then Aaron. Senator Wetangula is a point of order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, mine is a question of record and procedure. The Speaker who was on the chair, distinguished nominated senator, pronounced herself by calling the mover to reply. Now that you have come and it appears the direction is to rescind that decision, then you also have to make a pronouncement on it for the record that the decision made, because the chair is not about you or Madam Rose or Madam Kamar, is the chair, that a decision to call the mover to reply is now or is hereby rescinded for the record, because tomorrow somebody will read this Hansard and find out why we went the way we are going. So if there is a rescinding of that order, have a communication, then give us direction. Otherwise, we should not leave a murky record in the Hansard of this Senate.
Senator Cheriot.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to invite you, now that we've accepted the proposed process of how we are going to dispense all these motions that are before us, I want to invite you to standing order number 1061, that you make a determination on the limitation of debate that is before this House, that you set a specific time, say proposal, maybe 10 minutes for the mover, 3 minutes for the seconder, and 2 minutes for anyone who wants to contribute. And also, Mr. Speaker, you need to rule on what will happen in case midway through any of those debates, we take a vote like the previous one, where members, and it's within their right, call that the mover be called to reply, even if other senators wanted to speak about it. So those two decisions, Mr. Speaker, we call upon you to make.
Okay, I think I have already. What's your point, Senator Mwaura?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I really rise on standing order number 115 again. about repetitions and irrelevancies. Mr. Speaker, sorry, I beg your pardon. Mr. Speaker, really, honestly, Mr. Speaker, this House is a house of order and decorum. And last week, we were actually profiled as being very unruly. I'm ashamed to see almost direct altercations between Senator Murkomen and Senator Orengo. Let me put across. I'm not wasting time. I'm debating. Olekina, you also have the same right like me. Let me say this. We as the Senate, we need actually to retreat. Why am I saying so? This is just episodic. Politics is episodic. We are going to resolve this issue. Mr. Speaker, we are going to resolve this issue and we must continue to debate as a House. Mr. Speaker, as I finalize, I would want you to make a ruling, and please let's be tolerant. I mean, shouting like in a marketplace does not make you a better senator. Let me say this. No, even you moderate. Please be still.
Please continue,
yes.
Conclude.
By the way, senators, we are not known to heckle one another in this august House. Let me prosecute my point, and then you'll also have yours. Mr. Speaker, I need your guidance, and this heckling must be tamed. Mr. Speaker, I seek your guidance, because we have already discussed about Senator Kangata's amendment. We've also discussed Senator Linturi's amendment. Now we may discuss Senator Matangi or Senator Petronila's amendment. I seek your guidance that after we have discussed all of these motions, what would be the next recourse? I seek your guidance, because my understanding of a motion on the floor of the House is that even one is amended, the other one subsides. So I seek your guidance.
I will Senate Leader of Majority. Just a minute. There's a point of order by Leader of Majority. I'll give you Senator Sakaja. Even I'll give all of you.
In the wrong place. Oh, there.
Yeah, I can now use the opportunity.
Can that be off?
It's on the floor.
Speaker. Mr. Speaker, our own standing orders, standing order number 1, determines what the Speaker has powers to do when we all seem not to understand what's going on.
I can hardly hear what you are saying, Leader of Majority. Order, let's consult in low tones.
You know, Speaker, there are people who feel like they're entitled to disrupt anybody and everybody in this House. Even now, when I'm speaking, in the background, there are people talking. And I think this is very wrong, Speaker. I think that level of entitlement should be removed. Mr. Speaker, you have ruled. From where you sit, standing order number 1 gives you the opportunity to say these things. Secondly, when the Speaker was there before you came in, she had said that there was an oversight and that we were going to adjourn for 10 minutes to consult. Now that you are here, Mr. Speaker, whether you pronounce that we withdraw what was done before or whatever you do, it has already been said by the person who was there. So, Mr. Speaker, proceed. You have already said it. Give opportunity to everybody. And just as we had a very good 1 hour, 2 hours for Linturis, Mr. Speaker, everybody has a right. So I just want you to proceed, Mr. Speaker, with this.
Senator Sakaja.
Mr. Speaker, in the same spirit, because indeed this matter is it's taken us time, and members have processed the proposed amendments, and I think it will be fair to be able to listen to them, but in accordance to the standing orders. Mr. Speaker, Standing Order 62:11 says as follows: when every amendment to an amendment has been disposed of, the Speaker shall either again propose the question upon the original amendment or propose the question upon the original amendment as amended, as the case may require. Mr. Speaker, as you consult your technical team, the question on my amendment was put as amended by Senator Midhika, meaning, and it passed by 25 delegations. What that means is that as it is, the report of the committee has been amended by my amendment. Following that, Mr. Speaker, please, pole, order. You will consult the answer as well. Even there's YouTube these days, you can go watch. Mr. Speaker, what that means then is that because my amendment, or rather the Senate has passed my amendment as amended, and has amended the report of the committee to that extent, one amendment can be entertained. That is the amendment by Senator Orengo, as well as the amendment by Senator Petronila. The amendment by Senator Matangi was amending my amendment. It is null and void because already that has been disposed with and the motion has been amended. Mr. Speaker, what I'm saying is the orders. And Senator Kaniri has been here from 92, he'll tell you. So, Mr. Speaker, what I would urge, because I can see we're making progress and we're moving in the right direction. At this point, even as they consult, because you know the rules don't change, Senator Orengo will be allowed to move his amendment to the report. Remembering as well that the body of the report has changed by dint of my amendment. So what you might be referring to as B in your amendment doesn't exist. What you might be referring to as C also doesn't exist. Mr. Speaker, that is the only way forward, technically and following our rules, Mr. Speaker. And I would ask anyone to challenge that. Anyone, based on the rules.
Senator Chila yako.
Mr. Speaker, protect me from Senator Mtula Kilonzo Jr. I'm speaking on a different subject.
Order.
On a point
Do you want to make a Senator Junior?
No, Mr. Speaker, I rise under...
I'm going to give you an opportunity. Yes, Senator. It's on the same...
No, it's not on the same point.
Okay, let's hear him and then we'll determine.
Mr. Speaker, they cannot know my mind. Mr. Speaker, I rise on a point of order.
Let's give him an opportunity. Just relax. I will give you nitakupati. But he's also on a point of order. He's on a point of order. Continue, Senator.
Now, Mr. Speaker, I rise on standing order number 104, and specifically in response to the point of order that was raised by my dear friend Senator Arun Cheriot, that you exercise, that you restrict debate, and that immediately after moving and responding, you call upon the mover to reply. Mr. Speaker, this standing order is very clear that and unless the Speaker is of the opinion that such motion is an abuse of the proceedings of the Senate or is an infringement of the rights of senators, so I want to rise on a point of order to have you know that some of us want to contribute to this debate. And any attempt at shutting us will be an infringement on our rights to speak, on equality of treatment. So I request that you rule that the desire by members to lock out other members from making their presentation is totally out of order.
Okay, order, members. Order, members. You know, let me... Roger, listen to me. You know you have amended the time to 8 o'clock. Is it 9 or 8? What was... Okay, I'll check, okay. Okay, order. You know, the more you raise points of orders, and I've made a ruling, the more you are eating into the time when you're supposed to be discussing this. Okay, Senator Mazayo.
Bwana Spika, kila mtu aliyeko hapa ni senator, na akisema kwamba ana hoja ya nidhamu, ana haki ya kupewa hiyo nafasi. Hoja ya nidhamu ya kwanza, Senator Achilo yako ameisema. Akarudi tena akaongea katika hoja ya nidhamu ya pili. Umempa nafasi katika wakati huu, muhula huu afanye hoja ya nidhamu ya tatu, na hali watu wengine unawakataza kabisa hata kuinuka katika hoja ya nidhamu. Ni kwa sababu gani, Bwana Spika?
There's nobody have denied a point of order. Senator Kajwang.
Mr. Speaker, I want to agree with Senator Sakaja on a point he has raised. I agree with Senator Sakaja that Senator Orengo must be allowed to prosecute his amendment, and Senator Petronila must be allowed to prosecute her amendment. However, Mr. Speaker, I disagree with Senator Sakaja on Senator Wamatangi's proposed amendment. Because, Mr. Speaker, the question was not put. The amendment was not moved. If it had been put and moved and defeated in a vote, then it would be otious. Mr. Speaker, I strongly believe that it would be in order that Senator Wamatangi be allowed to move his amendment. And if there was an error in judgment or resolution, Mr. Speaker, it is the opportunity of the chair and this House to resolve whatever missteps we have made in the process.
Okay, order, members. I want to call upon Senator Petronila Were. No, let's. Okay, leader. Yes, okay, then. Okay. Okay, there's.
Mr.
Let's
Speaker,
take our seats. Okay.
There's a point which Senator Kajwang is making. Senator Wamatangi's amendment was an amendment to Senator Sakaja's amendment. It was not an amendment. It was not an amendment to Senator Linturi's amendment. That distinction must be drawn. And we cannot ride roughshod. And because somebody has said, Senator for Nairobi has said that that amendment is otious, the fact of the matter is Senator Wamatangi's amendment was an amendment to Senator Sakaja's amendment. It was not an amendment to Senator Linturi's amendment. So as a matter of procedure, and we can't run away from it, and Mr. Speaker, in fact, when that amendment was being made, we were quiet. So I think it'd be wrong for the Senator of Kiambu not be allowed to move his amendment, which is an amendment to Senator Sakaja's amendment.
Okay, Senator Wamatangi, finally.
Mr. Speaker, my point of order was very simple because, Mr. Speaker, it may look like when we quote standing orders, Mr. Speaker, exclusively to what we want, then eventually it may confuse members of the public and make others, for example, like myself, when I have an amendment to this motion, to look like I'm not protected by the law, Mr. Speaker. I rise on standing order, Mr. Speaker. We could start with the same standing order that Senator Sakaja had quoted, 11. It is very express, but Mr. Speaker, if you go even to 63.2, it's very clear. It says, despite paragraph 1, the Speaker may, in any exceptional circumstance, allow a senator to move an amendment to a motion before the Senate at any time during the consideration of that motion. Mr. Speaker, there is nothing out of order at all, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, I was just reading that standing order so that Senator Sakaja may not feel so entitled to prove or to say that it is wrong, Mr. Speaker, for I to move my motion, Mr. Speaker.
Order, senators. I want to call Senator Petronila Were to move her amendment. Senator Mutula Kilonzo, what's the problem? Okay, just okay. Okay, just Senator, okay. Yes. Okay. Okay. Yes, Senator Mutula Kuni. Senator Petronila, wait, just hold on, kidogo.
Speaker, I've sat here patiently since 2:30. All my buttons have been on and off. And Mr. Speaker, there are people who are getting preference today. And it appears to be discriminatory. And I rarely do I complain. And I hate complaining. But today you have mistreated us. But in the process of mistreating us, Mr. Speaker, the persons who are raising this point of orders are doing what we commonly known as filibustering. And in the process, they are thinking we are going to change our minds or lobby us or, Mr. Speaker. In fact, what I'm proposing, Speaker, since we have debated Those of us who have not debated, our colleagues, Senator Sakaja has spoken on our behalf. Mr. Speaker, the movers to move, the seconders to second, we vote. It's that simple. Because what is Senator Kangata going to say that he has not said the 4 times he has been here? Mr. Speaker, please guide us. Thank you.
Okay, order, Senator Murkomen. You know, let us make progress. I want to call Senator Petronila. Take 10 minutes. Take 10 minutes, and then it will be seconded. Seconder will take 5 minutes.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I know that we have had a lot of discussion on this issue of county revenue allocation and the various formulas, and I will not take a lot of time. In fact, 10 minutes is even a lot. But, Mr. Speaker, the principle behind, I have sanitized this. I will not be able to breathe. Okay. My first point, and to say that the principle behind my amendment to the report of the Finance Committee is that we continue with the second generation formula as it was.
Let's consult in low tones.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, could you protect me from the loud consultations behind me? Okay, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to move the motion on the report of the Standing Committee on Finance and Budget on the third basis or criteria for allocating among counties the share of national revenue for the financial years 2020-2021 to 2024-2025. Mr. Speaker, I move this motion by amending the full stop at the end and inserting the following words. Subject to deletion of the recommendation appearing as paragraph 26 of the report and substituting therefore the following new recommendation. 26, that the proposed third basis or criteria for allocating among the counties the share of the national revenue for the years 2020-21, 2024-2025 be as follows. The rest of this, Mr. Speaker, is in our order paper, so I will not go through it. I will simply summarize what this amendment of mine is talking about. And in summary, Mr. Speaker, it is saying that we continue with the second generation formula until the government, through the executive, is able to increase the amount of allocation to counties to 348 billion. And Mr. Speaker, once we have the 348 billion, and if that had already occurred, we wouldn't even be here. It would mean that no county is losing. Of course, Mr. Speaker, there will be counties that will get more money than others, but none will be losing. And that provides a win-win formula that we all have been looking at, and that helps to move the country forward. Mr. Speaker, we are here fighting about or arguing about 15% when there is 85% at the national level. We should be fighting to have a reduction of the 85% so that it's added to the 15%. We have more money. That gives us that 5%, and which is equal to the 348 billion that I am proposing. So even as we continue with this debate, we should be looking at reducing the amounts that remain at the national level and have more funds follow the functions that were devolved to counties. And that is what is envisaged even in the Constitution. Mr. Speaker, there are those who have said that the argument about 348 billion is equal to amending DORA, which we cannot do right now because it's a money bill. But, Mr. Speaker, the National Assembly that is concerned with money bills does not operate in a vacuum. It is also listening to the debates we are having now. The whole country actually is listening to the debates we have now. And even as we go to look at the next, to the amendment of this DORA, we shall be considering the 348B that we should go, that helps to move this country forward, that does not produce losers or gainers. Mr. Speaker, I brought this amendment as a nominated member of this Senate, because as nominated members, we don't necessarily represent a particular county. And that entitlement of representing a particular county is what has divided the Senate now. And people's minds are closed. They are not thinking about anything else other than what had already been conversed. So, Mr. Speaker, as a representative of the whole country, as a nationalist, I bring this formula that has a transition. And this transition gives us progress on this issue. So, Mr. Speaker, I rise to make this amendment that gives a win-win formula that is crucial to moving this country forward. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I call upon Senator Mwaura to second.
Then those of you who have put your cards, remove so that I'm able to know who will want to contribute, because what I have here is the old list.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
What's your point of order, Senator Ndwiga? What's your point of order, Senator Ndwiga?
This one.
Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, my point of order is from your direction. But there are so many of us who are in Siberia, the other side, and we don't have our cards in here. Yes, so perhaps you may want to notice our hearts. Thank you.
Proceed, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to second this motion. And I want to ask this august House, the House of Reason, the House of Wisdom, the House of Revision, the House that doesn't engage in frivolous and capricious debates, that we really look at what we are facing as a country. Mr. Speaker, this elongated form of debate has actually been able to reveal the soft underbelly that is a nation called Kenya. We are at a crossroads, a critical juncture, asking ourselves, do we move to the left or do we move to the right? Mr. Speaker, at the heart of this debate is whether we should devote more resources to counties and whether we should maintain certain resources to the center. And further to that,
let us observe social distancing. Social distancing, please.
Whether
please.
Okay,
proceed.
Whether, Mr. Speaker, do we have an ideology that actually governs the planning and development of this country? And one may actually argue that distributing money from the periphery to the center is a debate that is left of center. It is deconstructionist in nature because it seeks to disassemble the barriers against inclusion. On the other hand, is the right of center, where the debate is about who actually bakes the cake. These are some of the things that we are discussing as a nation. And interestingly, Mr. Speaker, we have a great challenge as a country because we need to review the devolution design. Because devolution, much as it devolves resources and powers to the people, it is not supposed to make us to disintegrate. And my candid observation, Mr. Speaker, is that the way we have devolved to 47 counties is actually going beyond disaggregation of Kenyans from tribe into counties. And we are seeing the emergence of what I call countyism. Mr. Speaker, we are also at a critical juncture because we are dealing with a situation where this Senate pronounced itself on the need to have more resources devolved to counties. And that time I was the vice chairman of the Senate Finance Committee at that point. But yet, we were countermanded, even when we had a scientific formula by the National Assembly. And people use the power of the thorax and intimidation, and that is why we have this kind of quagmire. Mr. Speaker, it has been alluded that going forward, we seek to devolve 35% of all of our resources to the counties. That is futuristic. However, Mr. Speaker, I am cognizant and in agreement of the debate that if we have 2.7 trillion shillings that is still resident at the national government, it is therefore imperative to, in the spirit of BBI, that we get more monies to counties now. And why am I saying so? Because, Mr. Speaker, many of the government functions have been slowed down by COVID-19. This is to mean there are so many savings that can actually be redirected back to the counties. And our own initial estimate is that even if we had at least 9 or 10 billion, we would be able to resolve this stalemate, so that Kenyans do not go at each other simply because monies have not been adequately devolved to counties. I know there has been a notion that counties are misappropriating funds. Yes, in fact, there are weak mechanisms of oversight. Like yesterday in Kiambu County, we saw that. But it is also incumbent upon the Senate, with those two key roles of ensuring that their money is going to counties, but also to oversight, even through legislation, so that we cover new ground and we strengthen our counties. In fact, Mr. Speaker, the county is not supposed, or is not expected to just, run after being born. It has to crawl and develop into something that is greater and better. And that is the role of this Senate. Mr. Speaker, for the last so many weeks, we have been going at each other simply because there is not enough resources to counties. And this is a fact. So this motion by my very good and able Senator Petronila Were seeks to postpone the new formula until such a time that we have 348 billion to share to all the counties of this republic. And Mr. Speaker, when such happens, there is no county that is going to lose. I've heard some senators saying that, DORA has been passed. Give me 1 more minute, please. DORA has been passed. I'm seconding.
Time is up. Time up. Time is up. Time is up. Time is up, order, Senator. Time is up. I said I'll be fair to everyone. We apply the rules across board. I propose the question. Take your seat, Senator Gideon Moi. I propose the question, which is that a motion by a standing committee on finance and budget be amended as proposed by Senator Petronila Were as set out in the order paper. Senator Chila Yako. What's your point of order? Senator Morgan.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I'm raising under Standing Order 106. Mr. Speaker, taking into account the fact that we have debated this issue now for close to 4 hours, I propose, Mr. Speaker, that you limit time to 2 minutes. To 2 minutes. To 2 minutes.
I said 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Ochila Yako.
I have, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this is a very good motion. And Mr. Speaker, I want to invite my colleagues who have been apprehensive, who have been fearful that some counties should benefit at the expense of others. In my contribution regarding a different set of motion, I indicated that we are debating a fallacy, we were debating mischaracterization of the situation. This is the motion that brings the right situation to be debated. Mr. Speaker, it is our duty as a Senate to every 5 years come up with a formula, come up with a methodology of sharing revenue. And Mr. Speaker, in very simple arithmetics, we are being called upon to change the denominator. We are being called upon to change the manner, the fashion with which the numerator is set. Mr. Speaker, the numerator has stuck at 316.5 billion last year, this year, and we are all apprehensive that it will not change. That is why every county. That is why every member is talking about injustice. This motion is seeking to allow the formula to kick in when the numerator has changed to 348 billion. When that happens, that is when each county will not lose a cent, will not lose any sleep, and some of us who may be gaining temporarily now will not lose friends and families and coalitions. So, Mr. Speaker, those who love this country and love this country on the basis that one section of the county should not benefit at the expense of another section of the county now should show their magnanimity by supporting this very patriotic motion that is only promising application of the formula when we have 348 billion. Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, I want to say that now is the time for all of us to unite and tie the hands of the national government so that, because they are the ones with the cake and the knife, to allow this formula to only apply when that knife is cutting a cake that is 348 billion, not when we are sharing a paltry cake that is not enough for Migori or any county. That is what Senate should do. Senate should not be confined and pushed into a corner to fight over monies that are insufficient, to raise marginalization that any one county has not done against another county. So, Mr. Speaker, I would be very happy in a situation.
Okay, you are out of order. Honorable Senators, we have a timer. So allow the fellow doing the timekeeping to do the work. Senator Ndwiga.
Mr. Speaker, I thank you for the opportunity, Mr. Speaker, because there's only 3 times, 3 minutes. I wish to be very fast in what I want to say. Mr. Speaker, I want to appreciate this House today, that at least today we have come to the conclusion of this issue, whichever way. And Mr. Speaker, some of us have been saying that there will be no other way of getting a solution to this issue apart from voting. We come and vote and we decide whichever way. And today, Mr. Speaker, we have behaved and we are still behaving like a Senate. Mr. Speaker, where it is issue of money, agreements outside here, outside the vote, will not be possible. And Mr. Speaker, you have seen that some good friends have been, have been shred apart by this issue. Really, Mr. Speaker, some of us, like Embu County, is in between 2 counties which we are losing. We are in between Tharaka-Nithi, we are in between Kitui. And those are good friends of, we have coexisted beautifully with those counties. Mr. Speaker, this Senate has missed 1 point, and that is the point I want to bring, and I want senators to listen to me carefully. Last year, Mr. Speaker, we were here on division of revenue. And last year, Mr. Speaker, we were fighting between ourselves and the National Assembly and the central government. For as long as what we are dividing is not enough, is this more cake, it will always be, this problem will continue to exist in this Senate. Mr. Speaker, I think it behooves all of us to start campaigning and moving we want to move the national government to allocate more funds to our counties. Mr. Speaker, I see that most of us have missed that point. All of us are saying, my county, their county, I am winning, we are losing. Mr. Speaker, that is not the point. The point is the cake which we have got on the table is so tiny. 316 million is what we'll be dividing. CRA has taken us through. Mr. Speaker, if you look at the amount of taxpayers' money which has been spent on this formula, From last year, CRA has taken this Senate through on the modalities on how they achieved these things, yet we came here and we could not agree. And it is not easy to agree, and we will not agree until what we did today. That we come and vote, we decide whichever way. And Mr. Speaker, I am happy today that tomorrow the nation will say what we say the Senate agreed. But as we agreed, I think the responsibility now is ours as a Senate. That as we move forward, can we now start pushing the national government to allocate more funding to our counties? Mr. Speaker, we have had issues of BBI and so forth. We are happy. When that happens, and if that happens, I see Senator Wakwe here. If that happens, Mr. Speaker, these debates will not arise, and these divisions will no longer be with us. And I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Kajwang Moses.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to support this amendment. It is a sensible amendment that has taken into account the various efforts you have brought to this House to solve this impasse. Mr. Speaker, you recall Senator Kangata brought an amendment to this House seeking a moratorium of 2 years before this formula could kick in. Senator Sakaja has also brought an excellent proposal that the formula be applied on amounts above 316.5 billion. But Senator Petronila Were's proposal, Mr. Speaker, is the more pragmatic of all of them. Senator Petronila says that this formula should apply on amounts above 348 billion. And Mr. Speaker, if you look at 316 billion versus 348 billion, all that is needed in the division of revenue conversation is to increase equitable share by 10%, so that if this formula is applied on a 10% or on a 110% of the existing DORA, then no county is going to lose, and no county is going to gain at the expense of another county. Mr. Speaker, it has been said before that what we are dealing with is a drop in the ocean. This country has a 3 trillion budget. Mr. Speaker, we are a 10 trillion economy, and yet 6 trillion out of it is debt. That debt does not go to counties. Mr. Speaker, county governors have been saying the national government takes debt on behalf of Kenyans, and that debt does not find its way in development of counties. To fight over 316.5 billion for the long period that we have been fighting over it, Mr. Speaker, is missing the point. I want to urge senators, because we have said leo ni leo, that we have to make a decision. And I also want to urge the presidency that the brinkmanship and the position taken from the Hill is not going to help this country. We must be ready to come together and find a common ground. And I thought that Senator Kangata had proposed a wonderful amendment 1 or 2 weeks ago, and that's why I seconded it. Mr. Speaker, I want to urge senators to look at the merits of this amendment by Senator Petronila. This could perhaps be the right solution for this country. I am aware that there are other amendments that will be coming from Senator Matangi and Senator Rengo, but I see no contradiction in supporting this amendment and supporting other subsequent amendments that will come. Finally, Mr. Speaker, the national executive should remember that there is no county called Kenya. The money the national government remains with has to be invested in one county or the other. There should be no contradiction in the national executive accepting that money to go directly to counties, because there is no other place the national executive will.
Senator Amos Wako.
For giving me this opportunity. This is the first time I'm speaking, and it was deliberately so, because I was really getting embarrassed that here we are quarreling, elders quarreling over 10% of the budget, and I don't see similar quarrels over the 85% of the budget that remains at the national level. Quarrels sometimes are good, but they are good only when they are focused on achieving a particular aim, when they are not detrimental to the unity of the nation that we know it. Mr. Speaker, sir, and I will, with your permission, be speaking on all the amendments that are now coming. Petronila's amendment, in particular for me, is an amendment that should have come first, even before Linturi's. It is simple, it is straightforward. You're saying if it's below 348, whatever, thousand, million, billion, 348 billion, the existing formula. If it's above, then the new formula. Very simple, very straightforward. Of course, there is a weakness there which I'll address later on, that all these amendments are based on the existing formula. And the CRA formula, if I may take this opportunity, I really want to thank them. They were very professional. Dr. Jane Kiringai, I think she's a very professional lady with her team, who for the first time, for the real first time, went into the issues of division of revenue. The division of revenue between the national and the county governments is supposed to address the issue of services to the people. The government, national government, the county government, performing the functions which they have been given. And so their division from population of 45%, and they gave something to health, gave something to agriculture and so on, looking at the fourth schedule of the Constitution, finding out what are really the functions of the county governments and addressing that particular issue. To me, they came out quite well. In other words, the approach is the correct one, but as somebody said, the devil is in the details sometimes. And it is those details that I hope Senator Orengo.
Your time is up. What's your point of order, Senator Murkomen?
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move under Standing Order 104 that the mover now be called to reply. Mr. Speaker, and ask Senator Mutula Kilonzo to second.
Senator Murkomen, order. There is still, we have a few members who want to make the contribution. Let's allow them. Let's be fair to each other.
Mr. Speaker,
let's be fair to each
Mr.
other.
Speaker,
Let
Mr.
us
Speaker,
be fair.
I am applying.
Senator Murkomen, let's be fair to each other. Let's give each other an opportunity to contribute. We are here. We are not going anywhere.
Mr. Speaker, you know we have been debating here about the rules of the House. And the rules of the House are very clear, Mr. Speaker. The standing orders, Mr. Speaker, are very clear. A senator can stand any time in the middle of the debate to move that, and that is the standing order, that the mover be now called to reply. If the senators don't want it, they will defeat that motion, Mr. Speaker. So you cannot change. You have already said earlier that we will be consistent on the rules. If I lose that motion of 104, then the House will continue debating, and that is the rule. Unless, Mr. Speaker, you want today to apply differently because it's me and tomorrow someone else. And therefore, I ask Senator Mutula to second.
Senator Mogeni.
Mr. Speaker, I want to address you with humility, knowing that this is a house of record. Your children are watching you. Your grandchildren will read the record for the proceeding of this House. Mr. Speaker, if you read Standing Order 104, the only discretion that it gives you, and I'm speaking as a senior counsel here, Mr. Speaker, fidelity to the law. is what has prompted me to stand up and address you, Mr. Speaker. The only discretion you are given, Mr. Speaker, is to put the question. And Mr. Speaker, once you put the question, we abide by the majority. If the proposal by Senator Murkomen is defeated, then the debate will go on. But I don't think, Mr. Speaker, you have a discretion not to put the question. And we went through this motion when Senator Nyamunga was on the chair, and she did the same thing. So I beg you, Mr. Speaker, I beg you to respect our standing orders and put the question.
There are a few points of order. Senator Wetangula.
Mr. Speaker, with the greatest respect to my distinguished learned friend, Senior Counsel Mugeni, the rules are not as strictly as what he has said. The House is also guided by usages, forms, precedents, customs, procedures, and traditions. Mr. Speaker, I want to bring you to the attention of the chair and the House that I've been in this House for a very long time. Many, many times, when a motion is moved legitimately, as Senator Murkomen has done, the Speaker quite often says, I have heard you, but let me hear 2, 3 others before I put the question. It happens all the time. So it's not a question of lock, stock, and barrel. Once you move, the Speaker is obligated to put the question, because we have usage and precedents that the House must follow. So it's up to you, Mr. Speaker. Many of us are queuing to speak. We didn't speak on the other motions. And this House passed a resolution earlier, Mr. Speaker, that we will go on with this issue until the end of time, which is supposed to be about 8:39. So I want to urge you that you give us time. A motion was moved by Senator Khaniri. Yes. Pardon? Until the business is finished. Fine. You are making it even better.
Senator Bogisho.
The light. Okay, thank you very much, Speaker. Mr. Speaker, as you consider something about this time and consider, Mr. Speaker, that you follow precedents and rulings and so on, it has been ruled from your chair, Speaker, before, that as senators, we cannot break the COVID rules of time. Mr. Speaker, it is in the ruling. It's in the ruling, Speaker, that we cannot go beyond 9 o'clock. We cannot be the ones to break. It is properly ruled from that chair, Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, we still have a few minutes before 9 o'clock. And Mr. Speaker, because the calendar of the House, we are not going to proceed beyond what we have said before. So this 9 o'clock thing, Mr. Speaker, seems to have been ruled by your chair. May you give direction, Speaker, on that?
Senator Chila Yako. Give him the mic. Give him the mic. Chila Yako.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I am not a designated senior counsel, but I am senior by virtue of longevity of practice, Mr. Speaker. Nearly 30 years, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, look at Standing Order number 104. If you read it in totality, and I will take you, I'll just quickly read it. After the question on a motion that the mover, which has a right of reply, has been proposed, a senator rising to his or her place may claim to move, that the mover be now called upon to reply. And Mr. Speaker, it proceeds to say, and unless
Let's consult in low tones. I need to get what Senator Achila Yako is saying. Senator.
Mr. Speaker, it continues to say, and unless the Speaker is of the opinion that such a motion is an abuse of the proceedings of the Senate or an infringement of the right of the senators, the question. So, Mr. Speaker, now let me just prosecute it the way I want. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, it is at your discretion, because there are members here who are begging to be heard. And Mr. Speaker, members must be heard. Particularly for me, I would be very happy to listen to all members here. When I'll be called upon to reply to the original motion, I want to know the thinking of Senator Moses Wetangula. I want to know the thinking of all members. So, Mr. Speaker, I plead with you that as you make a decision on this, remember that it is also the one protecting the rights of members to be heard.
What's your point of order, Senator Ali?
The lawyers here want to change the rules the way they are, Mr. Speaker. If you just proceed with the same, if you just proceed, it states that standing order 104, the same one. 2, it states that after you say the senators, the question, the one he talked of the infringement, then you say the question that the question shall be put forthwith and decided without the amendments or debate. And if that question is agreed to, the Speaker shall immediately put the question. Shall. The issue is shall, Mr. Speaker. No options.
Senator Olekina.
You put the question and see.
You know, I rise on standing order number 31, which I just want clarity. Because earlier on, Senator Haniri stood on that standing order to extend the time of business of this House. And the way the senator read the standing order was that until the conclusion of the business. Now, Mr. Speaker, sir, I want your assurance. My colleagues have rose on standing order number 104 and called for the mover to reply. I now want clarity and assurance from you, Mr. Speaker, sir, that despite the COVID rules and all that stuff that is happening, this House requires an assurance that we will conclude this business today, because when we voted to extend the sitting time, it was until the business is done. So, Mr. Speaker, sir, if you, in order 8, if you can, Mr. Speaker, sir, I need your attention to this matter. Because, Mr. Speaker, sir, this is a very important matter, and history will judge this House. Let us not look as if we are compromised. Let us not look as if, we are selective on what business to conclude and what business not to conclude. This is a very important matter, Mr. Speaker, sir. You ruled that this business will continue until we conclude order number 8. So give us your assurance, Mr. Speaker, sir. Let me just finish, Mr. Speaker, sir. So that whatever happens, at least I would have put my point across clearly. There are several different interpretations of Standing Order 104. I leave it up to you to interpret it, and maybe we'll be rewriting our standing orders today. But Standing Order number 31, the one that was voted on by the floor of this House, was very clear that the business on Order 8 will be concluded. So give us that assurance, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Senator Ongeri had come to contribute. Maybe you can... he's been standing there for a long time. Senator Ongeri. I'll rule on that.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Point of order, but let's give Mzee an opportunity to.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
What's your point of order, Senator Orengo?
Mr. Speaker, one of the persons who would never allow a situation where the rules are changed midstream. That I cannot live with. And Mr. Speaker, you've been referred to Standing Order 31. I think that's anticipation because we're not gotten there yet. But on relation of Standing Order number 104, Mr. Speaker, it would be a travesty of justice. And that's why you're put on notice that you have a discretion. But that discretion is dependent upon the fact that you can determine there's an abuse. If there's an abuse, Mr. Speaker, your opinion and your ruling is absolute. You've got to determine first whether there's an abuse. And that is very important, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to tell you about a situation in South Africa where a member of the minority party in the Parliament of South Africa was refused a right of hearing. He stood up like a lot of people are standing up in this house to be heard. And people are standing up on a point of order and saying the mover became a point to reply. He went to the High Court in South Africa and they said the most serious violation of the right of expression is to deny a member of a national institution, more so the parliament, that he can stand up and he has a point to be made, but because of procedural issues is not heard. And I want to take you back to Article 1, representative democracy. You know, Murkomen, I never, you've been talking, I never utter a word. I never utter a word. I'll never. Yeah. And if you want to make this a baraza or a kangaroo court, I'll keep quiet. But Mr. Speaker, I was in this house when the President of the Republic of Kenya would be sitting next to you there, and I'll be heard until conclusion. I was never stopped. So, Mr. Speaker, what I'm saying is this. In that case in South Africa, the member of the Democratic Party went to the High Court in South Africa and said he was not allowed. He was not allowed as an elected representative to air his views in the National Assembly in South Africa. So, Mr. Speaker, I'm drawing your attention to this thing because the second component is an infringement of the right of the senator. That is very important. And if I stand up and I want to speak, because it's not me today, I have been in this house when some people are in the opposite party. Today I'm in the minority, but they want to be heard. And because people are shouting, that person is not heard. Mr. Speaker, you will go down in history. And I've been in this house with Slade, with Mati, with Ngeno, with so many other speakers, and with Kaparo, and with the great Marende. Never, in fact, Marende would call you he used to call Halwale. I want you to speak on this point before I make a decision. Even before Halwale would stand up, he would, actually, I think Senator Wetangula will remember this. He would want to hear Halwale on a point of procedure. And today we are becoming a kangaroo Senate because only the majority can be heard. I know when the vote comes, they will carry their day. Yeah, I agree. Senator Wambua, you will carry the day. I don't mind. But I'm telling you, for those who stood to bring democracy to this country, in the words of Voltaire, that great Frenchman of the French Revolution, he said, I may disagree with what you say, but I'll fight unto death to protect your right to say what you want to say. So today, in this parliament, where there are senior councils, where there are statesmen, You are stopping somebody to speak on an important issue like division of revenue. Mr. Speaker, I would appreciate if you stopped me from speaking on a statement or a petition. But this is a constitutional duty that we have. Article 217, the Senate shall determine. And you don't want to hear me. Mr. Speaker, even the voiceless, even the people who are quiet today, you must hear them. You must hear them. Unless we become a kangaroo Senate. And I tell you, me, I lived in this parliament when we are only 7. But we'll be heard. We'll be heard. We'll be heard. And today, we are in a free, democratic country at Constitution of 2010. Imagine in a baraza out there, somebody is being told that in the Senate you cannot speak. No, that cannot be. That cannot be. Mr. Speaker, allow everybody to speak.
Okay, order members. Senator, Professor Ongeri. Let him finish. I'm going to give a ruling on that.
Mr. Speaker.
Order members. Order members. Order members. Order members. Order members.
Mr.
Senator
Speaker,
Cheriot. Okay,
I want to speak.
Okay,
it looks like some of us who are staying in the annex have no opportunity to come to this honest house and speak our mind. And Mr. Speaker...
Okay, there's a point of order, Senator Ongeri. Just Senator Cheriot. Just a minute. Senator Cheriot. You are here. You are here.
Give me the mic. Mr. Speaker, I need your attention, Mr. Speaker, so I'll wait for the Senator for Nyeri to finish first. Mr. Speaker, for Senator Orengo's long speech to make sense in this House, then we must draw a concession from you that the motion that was moved by Senator George Nyeri be respected as was moved at that particular time, because that motion stated clearly that we shall only rise upon the completion of order number 8. Therefore, we are not opposed to anyone speaking. Balance it within the probabilities of time, but assure us that we shall be here until we complete order number 8. If we get that assurance, Mr. Speaker, if we get that assurance, then we can allow people to speak as much as they can. Otherwise, Mr. Speaker, Senator Maura, please.
Order.
Senator Maura, please.
Order.
Otherwise, Mr. Speaker, we know this trap because we've been down this journey. 2 weeks ago, this house was made to rise unceremoniously and procedurally in a way that has never been done before. Therefore, we want, before we proceed, Mr. Speaker, can you assure the senators that Senator George Nyeri's motion stands as was resolved by this House?
Order, Senator. Order members. Order. Order members. I don't know who has contradicted that motion. So why are you raising things that have nobody has contradicted it? Why don't we allow Senator Ongeri to... Okay, Senator Murkomen. Okay, there's a point of order there.
Mr. Speaker, I have tremendous respect for Senator Orengo, and you know that. And as a person I looked up to, even if he has left the chambers, I have tremendous respect. And I have respect for the chair, for the speaker. But Mr. Speaker, the country is watching. Consistency in your decisions is extremely important. Mr. Speaker, there was a time we wanted to have more time to speak. You cut us short. There is a time, Mr. Speaker, depending on who raises the motion for mover to reply, you allow it. Mr. Speaker, if we are going to be a house that will be respect its rules, we must, Mr. Speaker, accept when we are losing and when we are winning. We cannot allow, Mr. Speaker, as members to filibuster on the floor with the hope that when it reaches 9 o'clock, they will say, oh, there is this rule and that we must adjourn. Number two, Mr. Speaker, just to follow what Senator Cheriot said, there was a time we rose from this house without following the standing orders. Today, Senator George Kaniri has moved a motion for extension of time to 9 o'clock. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, can I finish what I'm saying? Senator George Kaniri actually moved a motion that we must extend the sitting of the House until we finish the business in order number 8. Now, let me finish what I'm saying. Mr. Speaker, just check the answer. Mr. Speaker, the thing I want to say, which is more important as I conclude. Mr. Speaker, I hope, and like 2 weeks ago, a situation will not arise where at 9 o'clock, the Speaker will say, we adjourn, without anybody moving a motion to vote to adjourn at that particular time. If you assure us that the motion will be followed as it is, then we are going to stand with it. Last thing, I am waiting your ruling, Mr. Speaker, on Standing Order 104.
Order members, I will make that ruling, Senator Ongeri. Let Senator Ongeri contribute.
Mr. Speaker, I've patiently waited the whole day. It would appear, is the microphone
Let's consult in low tone so that we can hear.
It would appear those of us who are in the extension side have no opportunity to raise voices like you are raising in the plenary. I have a right as a delegation from Kisii County to make my comments sound right. What we have seen here today is a high degree of impatience and intolerance, and we cannot afford to accept that kind of behavior because it impeaches on our rights to speak on behalf of the delegations that have elected us to this House. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, this formula, we are scrambling for a very small vote of 316.5 billion Kenya shillings. We should have, in fact, set our minds to reflect on what happens in the national vote, instead of causing unnecessary acrimony on 316.5 billion Kenya shillings. So when Senator Petronila moved this motion, it gave some rare hope that time to reflect, time to seriously think whether we should preoccupy our minds and our time on 316.5 or we should go beyond. And I think the best action and the best way out is to have a deep reflection what we want as a Senate to go to the future. Because going to the future is what matters. We can remain static here for the rest of the period of time, arguing about whether it should be 10% or 11% or otherwise. And you do not guarantee the counties their future. And we are here not only to maintain the current situation, but we must also give hope to the counties for the future. So, Mr. Speaker.
What's your point of order, Senator Kindiki?
Mr. Speaker, you ruled a little earlier that each speaker will have 3 minutes. I am not sure that we are observing your direction. I'm also, Mr. Speaker, pleading with you because of the dignity that the people of Kenya place in this House and your office to give us a ruling on the issue of time before we could proceed, Mr. Speaker, humbly.
I will do that. The timekeepers, make sure you keep the time. I'll give a ruling. Senator.
Mr. Speaker, I respect Senator Kindiki, but he should have appreciated that I have not had the whole time to speak on this topic. So, Mr. Speaker, I think the way forward, time heals, and we know that time heals. You rush it, we put this country on a collision course. And my advice and my experience tells me that we should hold our horses. Let's see what is futuristic. Let's see what works. And let's see what can help this nation to come together. And that's why, earlier on, I wanted to say that the most important thing to do is to look at the national level, the national kitty, and how we can leverage the huge sums of money at the national level that can help us to move forward. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Susan Kihika.
Okay, Mr. Speaker, mine was really a point of order. We know that there was a precedent that was set about 2 weeks ago, and that was we must be home by 9 o'clock, Mr. Speaker. You wait for your time to speak. I'm on the floor. Mr. Speaker, we are lawmakers and not lawbreakers. Mr. Speaker, the same people who are here trying to rush us were a couple of weeks ago talking about a Senate, that senators should not be given 2 to 3 minutes to make their points, but instead should be allowed a lot of time to be able to debate. So because the world is not ending today at 9 o'clock, Mr. Speaker, sir, it is our submission that we should be able to adjourn at least by 8:30, so that those of us who live far can get home by 9, because we are lawmakers and not lawbreakers.
Senator Orengo. Yeah, I'm going to give you the next one, Senator Sakaja.
On a point of order, Mr. Speaker, and if Senator Fernandi can give me time, there's an issue which we are being intimidated about, and I want to say it very clearly. There are some people who are saying that we are filibustering, Mr. Speaker, I want to quote to you what filibustering is. An action such as a prolonged speaking which obstructs progress in the legislative assembly in a way that does not technically contravene the required procedures. So, Mr. Speaker, filibustering is a legislative tool. You cannot be stopped because somebody is making a long speech. Mr. Speaker, I'm so disappointed because there's a time when Mwai Kibaki would stand in the National Assembly and speak for a week. Now we have a professor of law known as Senator Murkomen. I don't want Murkomen to speak for 1 minute or 3 minutes. I want to speak for 1 hour. On Article 217 of the Constitution, which has got several sub-articles, it's got several paragraphs and sub-paragraphs, because I know he's a great intellectual. And finally, Mr. Speaker, Article 10 of the Constitution requires every person to comply by the rule of law, be it the president, be it senators. And I can tell you now, if you try to go to State House, you cannot get there because of COVID rules. So, Mr. Speaker, you should be very cautious. I'm a senior counsel, and Senator Mugeni is here. No,
He's on a point of order. He's on a point of order. He's on a point of order. He's on a point of order, Senator Murkomen.
In the courts now, I cannot access the courts now because of the COVID rules. And look at the way we are sitting, Mr. Speaker. It is a big shame. Look at this row, Mr. Speaker. The way people are sitting with masks, no masks, and so on. Is a danger even to you. So you cannot be allowed to break the law, Mr. Speaker. So the Senate cannot be allowed to break the law. So we are going on until 9 o'clock. When the curfew comes, we can come back at 4 in the morning. Let's come at 4 in the morning.
Senator Dulo. Order, members. Order, members. Order, members. Order, members. Order, members. Order, members. I'm going to give direction in a short while. Senator Dulo. Senator Dulo.
Mr. Speaker, I think this is a house of records. Mr. Speaker, there are so many point of orders that you have not given a ruling, especially the one by Senator Wetangula. Number 2, we are on record that the Senate is unable to make a decision, and the public is watching. Kenyans are anxious to get a decision from this House. Mr. Speaker, clearly it shows from the way the debate is going. With all these point of orders, Mr. Speaker, this is a way of defeating time to this particular motion. Mr. Speaker, you have had your time. Can you listen to me? Mr. Speaker, clearly, the way the debate is going is to defeat the motion and to make sure that we don't make a decision today. Mr. Speaker, I want to be on record that there is a certain way the decision of this House is expected. And that is the reason why this motion is delayed. Mr. Speaker, can you make a ruling? Can you make a ruling?
Order. She's on a order.
No.
She's on a point of order.
Order, Mr. Speaker.
Order. Order, senators. Order.
I am on a point of order.
Order.
No.
Order, senators. Order, senators. Order, senators. I'm on my feet. Can you allow Senator Dulo to finish?
Mr. Speaker, I don't see why people are making noise here, because we have given opportunities to each and every senator in this House. Yeah? There are no senators who are special than others, and there is no county that is more special than others. Mr. Speaker, we must make a decision today, because that is the only way that Kenyans are going to trust this House. I thank you.
Senator Sakaja, what's your point of order?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker.
Order, senators. Let's consult in low tones. Order. Order, senators. Order. Can we listen to Senator Sakaja?
Mr. Speaker, we listened to Senator Orengo. We listened to the leader of minority. I think it will be good for him to answer, to listen to us. Senator Kwamboka, you're in my delegation. Nyenyekea, Mungu akutumie. Mr. Speaker, I want to say this. The Constitution of the Republic of Kenya is the supreme law of this land. Mr. Speaker, there is no other law, there is no other statute, there is no other even precedent that goes or that can override the authority of the Constitution. Anyone who's done law will tell you about the hierarchy of laws. Mr. Speaker, even within the laws, there is an order of precedence in how the Constitution is written. Standing Order number 1 says, Mr. Speaker, or rather Article 1, number 2. Number 1 says, all sovereign power belongs to the people of Kenya and shall be exercised only in accordance with the Constitution. 2 says, the people may exercise the sovereign power either directly or through the democratically elected representatives. Mr. Speaker, sovereign power is delegated to the following state organs. And the first one is Parliament and the legislative assemblies in the county governments, and others follow. Mr. Speaker, 126 says, the sitting of either house may be held at any place within Kenya and may commence at any time that the house appoints. Mr. Speaker, what we are doing here is exercise of sovereignty of the people of Kenya. And Mr. Speaker, the exercise...
Order members, order members.
Okay, those...
Order members. Order members, order members. Order, order.
Mr. Speaker.
Order members, order members. Order members.
Mr. Speaker.
Order members, order members. Order members, order members. Order, order,
Mr. Speaker.
Order, order.
You know, when
Senator Sakaja, you are reading the mood of the House. Please conclude. Conclude. Give him the mic to conclude.
Mr. Speaker, I will also be heard. And in the same way Senator Orengo said, the worst thing you will do is not to hear. I will be heard. And when people like Senator Cherargei and Kangata raise their voices, I will keep quiet and I will continue with the point I'm making. Mr. Speaker, this House has passed a motion by Senator Kaniri, which is part of the law, saying until what time we shall sit. Mr. Speaker, we have seen, even as late as 2:30, we've seen the NMS Director General inspecting projects. We are performing an essential service. And Mr. Speaker, let it be known. Let it be known. You know, Mr. Speaker, even when they make noise, it is hard out there. Mr. Speaker, let it be known that, Mr. Speaker, when some of us used to play football, when people are being defeated, they run away with the ball. when they're being defeated.
Order, senators. Order, senators. Order, senators. Order. Order, senators. 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 Senator Sakaja, take your seat. Take your seat. Honorable senators, we have before us a very important debate that we are having. Looking at the requests here, and given that we have 2 more amendments to go, And given the ruling that I gave 2 weeks ago, it's not practical that we can be able to conclude this matter. Therefore, order members. 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 I want to direct order members. 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 I want order members. Order members. I want to direct I have ordered that we reconvene on Thursday to look at the 2 amendments and to make a voting on the main.